it's only fair to say the Prime Minister his actions over the last 24 hours that's been taken, as well as it's a warning shot to especially the new 2024 intake, of which myself, Neil and Chris are all members of. And there's got to be room for socialists in the Labour Party. No one became a Labour MP for people to become poorer.
Brian Leishman, welcome to PoliticsJOE. For those who might not be familiar with you, how would you like to introduce yourself?
Brian Leishman, still a Labour MP for Alloy and Grangemouth.
You were called into the Whip's office yesterday. Can you tell us what happened?
Yeah, certainly. The story would start, I suppose, the day before. On the Tuesday, I was in the chamber speaking in a Tory Opposition Day debate, and the email came through saying that the Chief Whip wanted to see me on Wednesday at 12:45. I responded, saying, yep, absolutely fine, no problem at all. I'll head in there right after PMQs, which I did. And then I think it was about a 10-15 minute meeting, perhaps. I was told that the whip was going to be temporarily suspended pending investigation into my voting record, which the chief actually confirmed as I apparently voted against the government 12 times. And investigation into breaches of discipline in regard of what I've said on social media and in various media outlets.
We'll get into what you said on social media, the issues you've been vocal about, the issues that you voted against the government on, but you referred to yourself as still being a Labour MP despite the suspension of the whip. Why is that?
For a couple of reasons, really. I'm still a very proud Labour Party member, and I was elected as a Labour MP, and what I would say is over my first 12 months in Parliament, I've stayed true to real Labour Party values of fighting for social justice, equality, and the redistribution of wealth and power for the benefit of the many in society.
So you won't be joining the Corbin Sultana party anytime soon?
Well, what I would say to that straight away is in my first 12 months, both Jeremy and Zara have been incredibly generous with their time and their expertise as parliamentarians. They've been really, really, really good comrades, to be honest. They've been excellent. And I've got all the respect in the world for them. And I wish them well in their new endeavour. But for me, my home is in the Labour Party because I still feel that the Labour Party is the best and most likely vehicle to achieve the society and the change in society that we need.
I mean, what sort of emails have you got this morning? Have you heard anything from constituents about your suspension from the Labour Party?
I've had so many emails. I've been inundated. It's been fantastic. I've had so many Labour Party members, not just from my constituency, but from all over the country, in solidarity and support. I've had a lot of constituents reaching out and say, well done for sticking by your principles. And those principles really are not just the Labour Party principles that I mentioned there, but no one elected me to go down to become an MP in Westminster to make them poorer. I want to try and make things better for my constituency and wider society. So the messages of support and solidarity have been brilliant.
I mean, you said that you can't back policies that make people poorer. Are the Labour exec out of touch with your constituents?
Well, it's a difficult one. I've been very blunt and forthright in the past in answering that, and I'm not going to change. I think first 12 months I always describe as we must do better, and we really must. What we've got to do is we've seen over 14 years of austerity that has ripped apart the social fabric of the country, and then after that we saw a global pandemic where wealth inequality exaggerated at an incredible rate, and then the third thing is a cost of living crisis, which is still ongoing, by the way. People are still becoming poorer, and what we've got to do is, and it's a bit of a buzzword kind of phrase to say, is we've got to improve people's living standards. Well, we really do. That's the measurement of any government. We've got to improve people's living standards. That means putting more pounds in their pocket, reducing their bills, and giving them public services that they rely on and they can actually be proud of.
And you think that the issues where you voted against the government, the pieces of legislation where you voted against them, you felt like those pieces of legislation wouldn't deliver what you've just spoken about there?
Well, I think as well, I have been negative about the things that we've got wrong, but, as well, let's champion the things that we've gotten right. And I think that is something, I think it's a measurement of where we are as a party in government right now, that those messages haven't really got through to the electorate. And two things that immediately spring to mind, well, three things actually, is the nationalisation of the railways. That's just good good practice, and something that I'm sure we'll probably touch on. I know that you and I have spoken on in the past was the Grangemouth oil refinery. That is something that really, that's a vital piece of infrastructure, like the railways, that should be in public hands. That should be in government control. And then also something else that we've done, and this is a real good thing that only a Labour government would ever do, is the Employment Rights Bill. The Employment Rights Bill is genuinely probably the biggest piece of legislation to improve workers' rights this country's seen in 5 decades. And then also what we have done as well is the restoration of the mine workers pension scheme. Now that's going to be a benefit of over 460 of my constituents alone. And again, that's the sort of legislation that only a Labour government would ever have the passion and desire to pass. These are things that have got to be celebrated. And one other thing as well that I think is a positive, the national minimum wage going up, that again, that is good Labour Party policy. But what I will say is that's only half of the story. Something that we've got to do is that when we look at the national minimum wage going up, good. But when we look at the extortionate bills that we've seen increase, we just look at, say, what Ofgem have failed to do. And I think last October, prices went up 10%. In January, they went up 1 and a bit percent. And then I think at the start of April, they went up 6.4%. Now, that negates the real benefit that people see in their wage packet. We've got to be on top of that sort of thing as well. Because the third thing I said was the cost of living crisis, and that is still ongoing. That links into corporate profits. We've seen obscene corporate profits, and that's profits that's not getting reinvested back in for the benefit of society.
I mean, you were suspended alongside backbench MPs like Neil Duncan-Jordan, Rachel Maskell and Chris Hinchliffe. Is there no room for internal opposition or disagreement within Keir Starmer's Labour Party right now?
I think that's a huge talking and discussion point that we've got to have as a political party, because every political party must have internal disagreements. That's healthy. We can't always be in an echo chamber of everyone approaching a subject and a topic and an issue from the same place. Debate internally is healthy. And, I've seen other people comment over the last sort of 24 hours when they've said that Tony Blair's government, for example, that was actually encouraged. You said Tony Blair looked at that as, well, I've got to win that internal argument, which more often than not he did. He did have a whopping majority, which helped. But refer back to people like Jeremy Corbyn, John McDonnell, Diane Abbott, people that had a different view of the world to Tony Blair. That was tolerated, and in some cases I would even have said encouraged. That's where we've really got to be. That's how, in my opinion, you get policy that is effective and fit for purpose and will really genuinely change society. And I've mentioned some giants of the Labour movement there. I'm going to mention another. Tony Benn said it most famously, and he said, Labour is not a socialist party, but it is a party that has socialists in it. And there's got to be room for socialists in the Labour Party.
I mean, what do you think it says about the strength of Keir Starmer's government that he is removing the whip from MPs that are further to the left?
I think it's only fair to say the Prime Minister his actions over the last 24 hours that's been taken, as well as it's a warning shot to especially the new 2024 intake, of which myself, Neil and Chris are all members of. I think it is a warning shot, and say, look, and let's be honest as well, as over the last sort of couple of months, especially on welfare, if we just look at welfare in isolation, the government has been a bruising couple of months. We saw over 100 Labour MPs sign the reasoned amendment. We saw 49, I think it was 49, 51, including John and Apsana, vote against the government on the welfare reforms. And that comes back to what you said right at the top of this piece that we are doing. No one became a Labour MP for people to become poorer.
I mean, a Labour source told my editor, Ava Santina, that the Labour government has been embarrassed by the new intake rebellions. Do you think that's what lies behind this, is an embarrassment?
Well, no, possibly. I think it's very hard to second guess what the leadership's motivation is for it, because frankly and disappointingly, there is a bit of a disconnect between the leadership and the backbench cohort. And I think that's not really, that's to no one's benefit. It's not for the leadership's benefit. It's not for the backbenchers like myself's benefit. Really, we should be, as backbench MPs, I always think your primary responsibility is to obviously look after your constituents and your constituency and represent them as well as you can. But we've got to be that sort of kind of compass or guidance for party leadership and say that if things are not going well or if policy is incorrect or it needs tightening up and moved here and there, that's the role of a backbench MP is to be that voice and that guidance.
I mean, do you think it's a sustainable strategy from the Labour exec? I mean, there was a line circulating today that a Labour MP suggested Starmer can avoid future mass rebellions by suspending 10 MPs in the rebellion at random, even picking names from from a tombola live on TV. I mean, what do you make of that?
Well, there isn't very rarely anything good on the TV, but I don't think that's an entertainment that anyone wants to see. Um, you know, Sometimes you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. I think involving people in decision making, in policy, because what I will say is across the Labour Party, there's a wealth of knowledge from many different industries, many different backgrounds. There's an awful lot of talent there, and in any business, you want to utilise that talent the best that you possibly can. And I think getting backbenchers involved in a bit more policy making, I think you'd see that kind of much broader sense of consensus being achieved, and I think that can only be a good thing.
I mean, you still describe yourself as a Labour man. It's fair to assume you would like to get the whip back. But if getting the whip back means only voting with the party while you're suspended, are you prepared to do that?
Well, Laura, I would say that's a bit of a kind of game playing fantasy to say that because I don't know what's going to be coming ahead from the party. I still stand by the maxim that I've got to have, and I think every MP should have is you've got to do what's right for your constituents, your constituency. That's where my loyalty's got to be. And in fact, I would hark back to actually what the Prime Minister said. I think the day after getting elected, he said it's a decade of national renewal, and to do that, we're going to put country before party. So I think, to be honest. I'm just kind of living what he said there, and that I want to put my constituency and the wider country's needs ahead of party.
Brian Leishman, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.